Morning, lovelies. Love is supreme. Let's talk about it. Jesus. Coffee, yay. We got up late this morning. Bad. So, um, heard a great message from Pastor Rutt last night, going through 1 Corinthians 13, beginning of 1 Corinthians 13, which is all about love. And was convicted. Very convicted. I know. How do you listen to a message about love and get convicted? Well, because, yeah, when you're not walking it out, the Holy Spirit's going, are you listening? Yeah, I'm listening, Lord. As I'm getting holy hand grenades heaved at me into the third row. I'm catching them just, yeah. Look like an all-pro wide receiver catching those holy hand grenades, let me tell you. But it's okay. We thank the Holy Spirit for conviction, because it means that there's some growth. There's some things that have to happen for growth to take place. So I want to go into why love is supreme. And I think this is moreover for me than, yeah, somebody needs to hear it, but I know I do, because, man, I'll tell you what. So I want to go through a couple passages, and we hear, and it's actually the YouVersion verse of the day, but I actually want to go over that verse last. I want to go over a couple corresponding verses. I want to go over 1 Corinthians, bookmark, and I want to hold this place where I'm at. I'm a little discombobulated this morning. I want to go over 1 Corinthians 13. So, bottom line, the overarching theme of this morning is going to be that love is supreme. Okay. 1 Corinthians 13:13 says, but now faith, hope, and love abide in these three, but the greatest of these is love. So faith, hope, and love abide in those three, but the greatest is love. The greatest is love, right? The greatest of all of those three is love. And you're talking about big things, right? Faith, hope. Faith is huge. Hope, huge. Love. But love is the greatest of all. Right? And we slide way in the back of, we go to 1 Peter. Go to 1 Peter 4:8. And verse 7 and 8 says, the end of all things is near. Well, we know that's true. Therefore, be of sound judgment and sober spirit for the purpose of prayer, right? So make sure that you're focused on prayer. Okay? So, but then he goes on to say in verse 8, above all, keep fervent in your love for one another, because love covers a multitude of sins. So love is above all else, right? So we know that love is the greatest. We know that love covers a multitude of sins. It's above all, right? Because it covers, right? So it's got to be above it to cover it. So love is above all. And you're talking about, again, like great things there. Sound judgment, sober spirit for the purpose of prayer. But above all, keep fervent in your love. Again, guys, I drilled in the chest of that holy hand grenade last night. Then we go to Colossians. All right, I love Colossians. Colossians 3, such a good chapter. was actually working on memorizing the whole chapter of Colossians 3. So I want to go through 12 through 14. So, as those who have been chosen of God, holy and beloved, put on a heart of compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, right? Bearing with one another, forgiving one another. Whoever has a complaint against anyone, just as the Lord forgave you, you also should. Beyond all these things, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity. So you're talking about a lot of great attributes there. You're talking about a lot of great characteristics there. Talking about compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience, bearing with one another, forgiving one another. But beyond all these things, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity. Right? Then we come back to 1 Corinthians 12. We wrap up chapter 12 with this verse. But earnestly desire the greater gifts. So right here, he's talking about spiritual gifts, right? But he's talking about greater spiritual gifts. And he goes in to talk about just context of there are three gifts that are greater than all the other gifts. And those are prophecy, teaching, and apostleship are the three greater gifts. When you're gifted with those are the greater gifts. Not to really diminish any others, but so he says, but earnestly desire the greater gifts. In other words, go after those. Go ask God. Those are what you feel you want to do. Go after them. And I show you a still more excellent way, which is love. Right? Because we're getting ready to talk about the excellence of love. I'll show you still more an excellent way. And how's he breach into chapter 13? Talking about love. Now remember, guys, when these were originally written, they weren't written in chapters and verses. So it was all one letter. It was just broken into chapters afterwards. He didn't stop in chapter 12 and go, cliffhanger, chapter 13. No, it was all the same. It was all the same thought. And he goes into 13. If I speak with tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I have become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. Often what ends up happening, I get into this is where the conviction comes into play. So you see, he's leading in talking about love. I show you still in more an excellent way. And then we go into John 13, right? Because John 13 is talking about the upper room discourse. So this is before Jesus goes away, right? And then I'll wrap it with the YouVersion verse of the day, which actually comes out of 1 John 3:16. Oddly enough, right? John 3:16, probably the most popular verse there is. 1 John 3:16, way in the back. So he says in verse 34 and 35, a new commandment I give to you, that you love one another. Well, that's not new. He had said that way back, like yeah, love each other, but listen to how he changes this. Because he told, when the Pharisees tried to trap him, he said, what's the greatest command of all? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul. Next is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. Well, now watch what he's going to do here. How he amplifies love. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, even as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this, all men will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. So he turns up the intensity on it. Now it's not just love each other as you love yourself, it's love them as I've loved you. He couldn't love us anymore. And now this is where the true conviction comes into play is I don't love others as I've been loved. And that was the true conviction is um, going through a book called The Greatest Salesman in the World and by Ogmandino, and he talks about these scrolls that he received to help him be the perfect salesman and the best the greatest salesman in the world. And the second scroll he opens talks about love. I will greet this day with love in my heart. And the whole scroll talks about having love in his heart. I am going to be digging into that chapter and I'm going to be digging into that scroll that he opened fervently, not just asking God to teach me what that says, but that he places it in my heart because I need to have a fervent love for others. So, yeah, very convicting message. So I want to wrap with 1 John 3:16. He says, we know love by this, that he laid down his life for us. That's love. He laid down his life for us. He didn't deserve that, but he did it out of love. He didn't deserve the criminal's death he received, but he knew he had to do it in order to save us. We know love by this, that he laid down his life, didn't get taken, he laid it down. And we know that he talks about that in John 10 as well. Matter of fact, let me go into that. We just talked about this the other day in talking about the shepherd. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. Yeah. Laid his life down for the sheep. We know love by this, that he laid down his life for us. And we ought to lay down our lives for our brethren. Yeah. This guy's going to do a serious heart change. Going to be fervently in prayer and fervently digging into that scroll that I printed out about greeting this day with love in my heart and just going through the whole thing. And yeah. And we know that what's he say there? Love is above all. We know that love is above all things. So the greatest of these is love, right? 1 Corinthians 13:13, right? What does he say? But now, faith, hope, and love abide in these three, but the greatest of these is love. So I love you guys. I do. That's why I'm here. I do what I do. I love him. He's called me to steward this ministry, and I love him. And yeah, I love you. I do. There's not a single human, there's not a single of his creation that I don't want to become his children. And we know that as many as received him earn the right to become a child of God. Many as received him. So you have to receive that gift that he's giving, right? You have to receive that gift. That's when you receive it, you earn the right to be called a child of God. So don't get rid of that, throw away that name of created in the image of God. I mean, yes, you're created in the image of God, but there's a big difference between being created in his image and being his child. Second is much greater. So we'll be back Monday with whatever Dad wants to talk about. I love you guys.